how you perceive your life defines the matrix or the reality of your life, your own life. So what you focus on becomes your reality. What you think about becomes your reality. If you're always thinking positive things, your reality is a positive life. If you're constantly thinking negative things or being pessimistic about things, your reality is a pessimistic life. So the power of thought and the law of attraction and the optimism you present to yourself, you can create the happiest life you want to through the definition of this self matrix. Yo, what's up, everybody? This is the End-to-End Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Yun Win, as my friends affectionately call me the Prolific Ninja. You can call me Ninja too. This is the End-to-End Podcast, the alpha to the omega, the beginning to the end, talking about life, motivation, inspiration, entrepreneurship, success in this all-you-can-eat buffet called life. Back in the studio, actually, you might notice a little bit of a new setting. This is pretty awesome here. We're upgrading, so to speak. With some equipment and such. So happy to be in the studio, getting back with you all on a solo show today, talking about something specific and very unique to me, which is what I believe is The Matrix. Now, many of you all know The Matrix as a movie from 1999, which blew everybody's mind. Kind of an interesting story when I first watched it. So I was in medical school at the time on my psychiatry rotation. So in your second year of medical school back then, you would rotate to different specialties and subspecialties to get experience, so to speak, of an apprenticeship in that area to make sure to identify what area of medicine you may be interested in. So I was on my psych rotation at the VA. And at the VA, it's mostly, PTSD, alcoholism, drug addiction, things like that, with these war veterans, military veterans coming back through from a psychiatric standpoint. But in the middle of my 6-week rotation there, I show up at the VA, and my attending physician or the instructing professor of me said, "Hey, man, I walked into the clinic ready to see some patients, and I said, what are my assignments today?" And he looked up at me. He was filling out his medical script, and he looked up to me and he said, "Have you seen The Matrix?" And this is like at 11 a.m. And I said, "No, I have not seen The Matrix." And so he goes, "Your assignment today is go to the movie theater, watch The Matrix, and come back the next day and tell me about it." That was it. No patients, no evaluations, no notes, no medical notes, no nothing. So couldn't turn him down on that offer, even though I had no clue. I didn't even know the movie came out because I'm in medical school and just buried in books and whatever. So here I am, about 12:30 in the middle of the day in a theater in North Dallas, all by myself. It was a massive theater, like a stadium seating theater. I'm kind of in the backish row, and I'm watching The Matrix, and my mind is blown away. Like I couldn't comprehend actually what I just watched. But secondly, after I had a chance to sit back and meditate on it, understanding what the movie was really about, it just started sunk in. And from a pure philosophical kind of psychological level, it just changed my way of thinking in a dramatic fashion. To finish the other story, though, I showed up the next day, and I'm expecting this full-on evaluation, psychiatric evaluation of the movie, sort of my views of the movie. But I show up at clinic the next day, about 10 o'clock. I see my attending physician. He says, "Did you watch the movie?" I said, "Yep." He said, "How was it?" I said, "Good." He says, "Okay, let's go see some patients." So, yeah, I wasn't even evaluated on watching the movie, but I think he sent me there just to get A, he was probably a sci-fi buff, but two, B, he just wanted to expose me to that kind of novel movie making, novel way of thinking. So in any event, The Matrix from 1999, the whole series, one of my favorite series of movies of all time. I think I've seen all 3 of them, now 4 of them, 50 times plus. It's just one of those classics now that just I want to watch over and over and over again. But to a large extent now, and to the direct point of this podcast, is that many people now speak of The Matrix in real life terms as in applicable to today's world, the matrix, and how, things are moving and being controlled beyond our knowledge or awareness, and, are influencing our lives. For example, Andrew Tate refers to the matrix quite often, and several other famous celebrity-style podcaster influencers that describe how we are living in a matrix and, being controlled by, whether it be the elites or some other external force or influence that is beyond our comprehension, is influencing our lives. And I will do a separate podcast on my beliefs on that, because I don't want to get into too much detail and get suicided potentially. But it's this movement, or the invisible hand. I forget the economist that wrote that. The invisible hand that kind of controls things as it relates to our lives. And so by that extent, I describe the matrix as a force or influence created by whatever that is beyond our awareness, that influences or controls our thoughts and or behaviors, and therefore defines and shapes our reality. Okay, so I'm going to go through that kind of extensive definition of what I think the matrix means one more time. Okay, so it is a force created by whomever or whatever that is beyond our awareness, that controls and or influences our thoughts and or behaviors, and therefore shapes our reality. Okay, it sounds very legalese, but when you put it all together, it's basically things beyond our awareness that controls us is the matrix. And so when you put it in those terms, yes, there is something from a grand global societal framework, whether intentional or unintentional, or design or just circumstance, that influences and controls our thoughts and behaviors, and therefore shapes our reality. So by that definition, yes, Andrew Tate, Andy Frisella, for example, these other, very intelligent, very smart, much more successful than me people discuss this matrix. And yes, that exists under that definition. Again, it's an external force, set of circumstances, rules, systems that are beyond our awareness that controls and shapes our thoughts and behaviors, okay, and defines our reality. Yes, by that definition, yes. So for me, I do believe there is this societal or global type matrix structure, okay? But where I differ is I believe there are actually multiple matrices in your life. Multiple. Okay, so I'm going to put aside the societal global one for another podcast. Again, I don't want to get suicided for my specific thoughts, but needless to say, there is one. Okay, in fact, I spoke to my law firm staff about this today because it's election time, it's voting time, and so my message to them as a side note was, hey, let's not be divisive or territorial, Republican or Democrat or whatever. Let's vote based on our conscience and what's best for ourselves and our families, for not now, but for future generations down the line. Okay, whether it be Democrat or Republican, it's not my place or duty to tell them how they should vote. But if I think they use their conscience, they will know how to vote. Okay. But that being said, there is this layer of authority or whatever that controls our lives from a grand view, and I'll talk about that in another time. But there are two matrices that Andrew Tate and these other very successful, intelligent beings don't talk about, or may not even acknowledge or confirm. And you have this grand societal global matrix, but then there's a layer beneath that. And I define this as your inner circle matrix. The inner circle matrix is your friends and family and the people around you, their thoughts and opinions influencing or controlling your thoughts and actions, thereby also shaping your reality. Okay? It's this sub-layer beyond this societal one. It's a sub-layer of your friends, family, close associates that are not to your awareness, that are shaping how you think and act. Okay, and let me give you an example. And this was actually a question on Q&A, which was, what if your parents want to force you in a specific career path for which you don't want to follow, right? Whether to your awareness or not. Maybe your dad keeps dropping these hints that you're not picking up on, that you should become a physician, right? And so subconsciously you're not aware of it, but it's shaping your decisions, your actions, and how you conduct yourself in the path that you actually lead. Or alternatively, what if your friends want to go out on an evening, go party in the city, and you're not willing to do that, but then you are afraid of what they may think if you don't go, or if they'll still be your friend if you don't go. First of all, that's a shallow definition of a friend, but it's a reality that happens all the time. So whether you're aware of it or not, your concern about their reactions is influencing and controlling your thoughts and behavior. And so if you go, it's shaping your reality. And if you don't go, it's also shaping your reality, right? So your reality is then therefore defined by the expectations or the judgment of the people that are closest to you. And you may or may not be aware of it. But that in itself formulates a matrix, living through the expectations of your inner circle or the people closest to you. Now that circle may be a professor, it may be your boss, it may be your, like your friends and family, your close ones, or, whoever influences what you do at any given time of the day is your matrix, that inner layer of a matrix. Okay, so again, you have this grand societal, global kind of structure of a matrix that Tate and, Frisella and all these guys talk about. Then you have, and that moves entire populations back and forth doing things. Then you have your inner matrix of your direct, influential inner circle, moving you in different directions based on your belief of their expectations. Now, how do you escape that inner matrix? Well, the more self-aware you become, right, the more you can escape that matrix. The less you have concern about other people's expectations and judgment, the better you can escape that matrix. Essentially, if you know yourself well enough to where you say, I don't give a fuck what anybody thinks, that is the key to unlocking that inner matrix. You become aware of what you want, and therefore you define your reality through your own control of your thoughts and actions, right? Remember, the definition of a matrix is a force beyond your awareness that controls your thoughts and or actions, thereby defining your reality. So the more aware you become and the less you really care what other people think in your inner circle, the better you can escape that inner matrix. Okay? Now there's a third matrix, right? There's a third matrix beyond the societal, the inner circle, now the third one. And the third matrix is what I call the self matrix. You see, your reality is defined by what you think and perceive yourself. Okay? For example, if I tell you to imagine the smell of a rose, right? You don't have one in front of you, but your brain is perceiving a rose, and perhaps it's even triggering what it would smell like, right? That by itself to yourself, your own thought, it presents a matrix, right? It's not there in front of you, but you're registering that thought and you're registering that smell, right? If you have, it's kind of like one of those things, like if a tree falls in the forest and nobody hears it, did it actually fall? Did it actually make a sound? Right? So for example, if you have a specific pain in your body, okay, let's say my shoulder hurts. If I pay no attention to the pain, in my own reality, I'm not in pain, even though there might be something anatomical in my shoulder. Okay? So whether or not I pay attention to that pain or not defines my reality on whether I have pain on my shoulder. Okay? How I perceive, for example, success. Okay? If I define it as wealth, right? Then it may perhaps define, okay, if I define my success as in wealth, and I've not attained the wealth that I want, I may perceive my reality as a failure, right? But if I perceive my definition of success as fulfillment through the service of others, and for example, through my medical career or my legal practice, I've helped thousands of people. So if I define my perception of success as fulfillment, then I would perceive my reality to be wildly successful. So you understand, what you think becomes the reality of that self matrix. You defined that matrix to your own reality based on what you think of yourself. What goes on in here? Perception is everything. It's like when I go to trial and I'm describing my client's case to a jury or presenting the evidence. How I present the evidence affects their perception of what happened with my client's case. And so that perception therefore becomes their reality of my client's case. Well, similarly, how you perceive your life defines the matrix or the reality of your life, your own life. So what you focus on becomes your reality. What you think about becomes your reality. If you're always thinking positive things, your reality is a positive life. If you're constantly thinking negative things or being pessimistic about things, your reality is a pessimistic life. So the power of thought and the law of attraction and the optimism you present to yourself, you can create the happiest life you want to through the definition of this self matrix. So how do you, quote, escape that matrix? Well, A, self-awareness. The more aware you become of your thoughts and your emotions and how you react to things, and the more you can control those, the more you can control this self matrix. The less distracted you become, the more meditative you become, the more educated in terms of wisdom you gain, not in terms of degrees or books or whatever, but or textbooks, but wisdom, real world self-help or self-development wisdom, or knowledge will help you gain this awareness and understand what reality really means. So that is the third matrix, the self matrix, that in the aggregate, you have the three matrices that you have to deal with to shape and form your own reality. Now, they're layered on top of another. And so how you address these actually is you have to work from the inside out. Okay, if you want to, quote, escape the matrix, inside out. The inside one, the self matrix, you can work on that directly, anytime, anywhere, starting anytime, starting anywhere. That inner one, you can directly shape easily. That's just on you because it's your own matrix of what you perceive in your mind. The second layer, which is the inner circle matrix or your influencer matrix, that one will take work because now you're having to deal with relationships. Okay, it's hard to tell your best friend to fuck off sometimes, maybe, or your parents or your significant other. But there again, you are dealing with letting them know that their expectations of you don't mean anything because it's about you. That one is going to take some work. The societal one, now that's a different story. And to address that one, I'll go back to the movie series, The Matrix. If you know, and I'm sure all of you have seen the movie. If you haven't, you need to go watch it. But the main character, Neo, is, quote, the one that can change everything, right? And as powerful as he is in the movie, okay, he never escapes the Matrix. Okay? In fact, he never challenges the Matrix one-on-one. One meaning the other one meaning the Matrix itself. He never challenges the Matrix. In fact, not to ruin the not to be a what you call it, a spoiler. He doesn't challenge it. He actually helps the Matrix, right? Under the philosophy, the Sun Tzu Art of War philosophy of the enemy of my enemy is my friend. But Neo never escapes the Matrix. Even in the fourth one, he's in it. Okay? He never challenges it either. He never escapes it. He never challenges it. But he lives within it. He controls his own matrix inside this global societal matrix. Because those forces are just too strong. It would take a revolution of like-minded people all together deciding to challenge this global societal matrix at once in order to actually, quote, defeat it. So in many regards, you live within it and optimize your opportunities within it while maintaining as much of the self-matrix as you possibly can and controlling that reality. Okay, that's where the structure is right now. Now, that can obviously change at any point. But you know, after watching the movie in 1999, and you know, here we are 24 years later almost, this thought has been sitting in my head for so long that it's just not about this grand matrix. In the movie, the first one, you know, Morpheus tells Neo before he jumps across the building in the test scene, you know, free your mind. And the reality is yes, once you free your mind and understand that these layered matrices exist, whether by design or not, whether you believe in them or not, they exist. Once you free your mind and understand that, then you can directly address it through self-development, knowledge, wisdom, confidence, all these things, self-development, all of this self-development stuff that, you know, myself, these other motivational, inspirational influencers, all these people telling you, if you embrace it and apply it to your own life, the sooner you do that, the sooner you get to escape possibly the matrices that govern your reality. And therefore, the ultimate goal is creating your own reality, your own life, letting the energy within you out and flowing to where you get to create and control your own reality rather than that reality being controlled for you. Okay, that is the ultimate goal. Okay, so the three matrices. Very, very deep, heavy topic. I'll probably come back around and revisit this one again because there's so much there. I didn't want to shock y'all too early and too soon. We're still early in our relationship, this being the 29th episode of the End-to-End podcast. But suffice it to say, if you enjoyed or found value in this episode, which I hope you did, and I'm almost 100% confident you did, please do like, share, follow, subscribe my podcasts on all platforms, iTunes, Spotify, YouTube. Follow us on Instagram at N2N podcast, at @2N podcast. Our audience keeps growing, and I'm so thankful and grateful. That's the only way this message gets to get out. And, we get closer and closer each and every day to fulfilling our mission, which is to positively influence billions of lives across this planet. And with your help, I'm hopeful that we get to do that. But I'm thankful for that. Remember, we have prolific Q&A. So if you ever have any questions that you want me to answer or address on the podcast, please do send those questions into ask, A-S-K, at the N2N podcast.com. Ask at the N2N podcast.com. We got a lot of things in the hopper that we're so excited to release towards the end of the year, going into the start of the new year, all to benefit you guys. But this is an exciting time. Happy to bring more episodes to you. Excited to bring more episodes to you. Thanks for listening and following in, and look forward to seeing you and talking to you again on the next episode.